They called you a problem, a ghost in the system, a storm without a warning. They said you were broken, but what they couldn't see was that you weren't broken. You were being rebuilt. Every scar wasn't a wound, it was a blueprint. Every betrayal wasn't a loss, it was a lecture. And every time they thought they had you cornered, you were just taking notes. That's the part that terrifies them, because you didn't just survive their attacks, you studied them. You didn't just crawl out of the wreckage, you turned the wreckage into a weapon. Now your very presence is a prophecy, and your silence is a sermon they can't escape. See, they thought you were reckless. They saw the fire in your eyes and thought you'd burn down every bridge you ever crossed. But what they didn't know was that every move you made was surgical, precise, 1,000 steps ahead. You didn't rage against the machine, you became the machine. You weren't a drunk driver swerving into traffic. You were a ghost carrying blueprints no one else could read. That's the part that scared them. The chaos didn't consume you. You consumed chaos and wore it like a designer suit. You glide into rooms like a shadow with swagger, that gangster silence dripping heavier than 1,000 threats. You don't announce yourself. You let the air shift. People choke on their own guilt just from feeling your presence. And isn't it funny? The same ones who called you crazy now call you legendary. The same ones who plotted your fall can't even look you in the eye because you didn't just survive betrayal. You weaponized it. You could have gone loud. You could have dragged names, flipped tables, burned bridges until the smoke blocked out the sun. But you didn't. You chose the long game. You chose silence. You chose that thuggish elegance where every scar is a scripture and every loss is a ledger. And now your whole walk is prophecy. Every word you drop sounds like law to the ones still stuck in cycles. You escaped with nothing but grit and a grin. You don't chase revenge. Your existence is revenge. You don't flex scars. You let them whisper for you. And that's what drives them insane, because they remember the old you. The one who tried to explain, tried to fix, tried to trust too quick. That version's dead. The new you, cold, calm, ruthless, without being reckless. A psycho with patience, a savage with silence. Now you don't raise your voice. You raise the temperature in the room. You don't prove. You demonstrate. You don't fight with fists. You fight with legacy. And legacy doesn't argue. It echoes. That's why when your name drops, the liars stutter, the fakes freeze, and the snakes choke. Because you're not just alive. You're operating. You're evolving. You're untouchable. Let them mislabel you. Let them spin their little stories. You don't care. Because while they're playing checkers for clout, you're moving like a myth. Sharp, silent, and unforgettable. A savage built from scars. A psycho who learned patience. A gangster who doesn't need noise to be respected. You became the storm, the shadow, the blueprint, and the wildest part. You're just getting started. They thought silence meant weakness. They thought calm meant you were done. Now that was just the prelude. That was just you reloading. And now, every step you take feels like Judgment Day. Every glance you give is heavier than a sentence. You don't got to swing fists anymore, 'cause your aura already does the damage. That grin alone, makes enemies rehearse their apologies in the mirror at 3:00 a.m. And don't it make you laugh? These fakes with their little alliances, their whispered lies, their snakeskin loyalty, they thought they were plotting your funeral. But they were really just auditioning for your comedy show. Because when you watch them fold under their own guilt, it's not tragedy, it's entertainment. You sip your tea, let the world burn, and grin like you already read the last chapter. That's gangster psycho behavior. That's control. And loyalty? Oh, let's talk about that. You carried people who couldn't even carry your name. You took hits, covered scars, kept secrets for people who would have sold you out for half a compliment. But the best revenge, you didn't expose them. You didn't even clap back. You just leveled up so violently that their own shadows can't keep up. Now their silence screams louder than any words they ever spoke. That's punishment. That's elegance. That's what terrifies them most. Now when you walk into a room, the fakes freeze. The real ones nod. And the rest, they whisper fairy tales to themselves about who you are, because the truth is too heavy to carry. They don't know whether to fear you, follow you, or try to erase you again. But it doesn't matter. You're past needing their reaction. You've turned presence into prophecy, silence into scripture, and scars into signatures. You don't ask who's real anymore. You let time answer. You don't ask for respect anymore. You breathe it, and the wild part. You don't even try. You're just living proof that betrayal can't bury a psycho. It only sharpens one. You ever notice how the ones who tried to bury you suddenly act like they never owned a shovel? Like they forgot the late-night meetings, the whispered plots, the fake smiles they wore like cheap Halloween masks. But here's the punchline. You didn't just crawl out the grave. You turned the coffin into a throne. You don't haunt them. You invoice them. Every scar you carry is a receipt, and their guilt pays the interest. You move different now. Not like a survivor, not like a victim, but like a psycho who found peace in chaos. You don't rush. You don't panic. You don't blink. You stroll through disaster like it's a Sunday market, picking out lessons and lacing them into your walk. That's what drives them crazy. They thought the storm would drown you. Now you married the storm. You put a ring on thunder, and now you sleep next to lightning like it's your side piece. And the fakes? Oh, they can't stand it watching you glide while they choke on the air you left behind. Their paranoia is free entertainment. You just sit back, let them twitch, let them wonder. Every time you smile, somebody checks their locks twice. Every time you laugh, somebody rewrites their alibi. That's not coincidence, that's punishment. That's presence, doing the work while you sip your tea and watch the show. See, you don't need to prove a damn thing. You are the proof, the psycho blueprint of what happens when betrayal breeds brilliance. They called you reckless, but your moves are so calculated they make math look messy. They called you cold, but cold is survival. Cold is control. You don't shout, you hum. You don't threaten, you hint. And one look from you does what 1,000 weapons never could. Make grown men sweat like toddlers in church. You're not looking for respect. You breathe it in like oxygen and exhale it like smoke. And the funny part, they still whisper your name, still trying to decide if you're myth, monster, or miracle. But you know the truth. You're all three. The ghost in the system, the savage in the sermon, the psycho with patience. You don't need the spotlight. You are the light that blinds them. And here's the real kicker. You're not done. You're just warming up. They thought you'd cool down, fade out, soften with time. Instead, you got sharper, colder, funnier. Now every scar looks like a medal. Every silence feels like a trap. Every grin is a warning shot. And the wildest part, you don't even try. You just exist. And existence alone is punishment. See, they wanted you rattled. They wanted you loud, reckless, easy to predict. But you flipped the script. You turned into the calm storm, the quiet assassin, the ghost with receipts. You don't walk in like you're proving something. You walk in like they already lost. That's why they shake. That's why their eyes twitch when your name comes up. You became the math problem they can't solve, the storm cloud they can't outrun, the psycho blueprint they'll never replicate. And isn't it funny? The same snakes that laughed now rehearse excuses in their head, just in case they bump into you. The same fakes that whispered now duck their heads like kids who cheated on a test. You don't even have to expose them. Their paranoia does the work. That's how you move. Smooth, deadly, silent on that gangster psycho frequency nobody else can handle. Every step you take is proof. Proof that betrayal can't bury you. Proof that pain doesn't paralyze, it weaponizes. Proof that you're not out here seeking revenge. You're making revenge obsolete just by breathing. They feel it. They know it. They hate it. But they can't stop it because you're not reckless. You're inevitable, and inevitable doesn't retire. Inevitable doesn't rest. Inevitable keeps coming back colder, sharper, darker. That's why they'll never handle you. That's why they'll always whisper. That's why every time you smile, the room gets quiet, like someone just saw a ghost. Because you're not just alive. You're operational. You're still running, still refining, still dangerous, and the whole world knows it. Gangster psycho doesn't clock out. You don't fade. You don't fold. You don't get tired. You just sharpen. Every sleepless night they gave you, every scar they left, every setup they thought would finish you, it all turned into fuel. And now you're not walking with baggage. You're walking with ammunition. They wanted you broken, but you came back. Blueprint. They wanted you erased, but you came back. Legend. They wanted a body, but they got a ghost that grins in silence and bends the air every time he enters a room. And that silence, it's heavier than thunder. It sits on their chest, squeezes their lungs, makes them sweat through their own lies. That's the cost of underestimating someone who thrives in the dark. See, you don't chase people. You don't chase clout. You don't chase revenge. You chase nothing, because everything worth having already drifts toward you. Respect comes, fear comes, whispers come, all while you sit calm, sipping your tea, watching paranoia turn them into their own executioners. That's gangster psycho patience. That's what makes you untouchable. And the truth is, they'll never admit it, never say it out loud, but you're the reason they lock their doors twice. You're the reason they scroll quiet when your name pops up. You're the reason their pulse jumps at the sound of laughter in a room. Because your laugh ain't normal. It's a knife with rhythm, a reminder that you could have ended it all for them. But you didn't. You just let karma play janitor while you kept stacking your silence into empire. People can't handle that. They can't handle you because you're not just surviving. You're rewriting survival. You're not just moving. You're haunting. You're not just present. You're prophecy. And no one can stop prophecy. They can only pray they're not in its path. And the wildest part, you're still warming up.